Welcome to Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the podcast dedicated to the commercial food equipment repair industry. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group and a certified special trainer. Our goal is to shine a light on what we believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. We love the work we do, and we are glad you can listen to the podcast. In this episode, we feature Josh Cober, the next young gun. If you want fast, reliable HVACR joints, choose RLS Press Fittings. With RLS, you get the most trusted, most proven press fittings on the market. And the only ones that have more than 9 years field use in HVACR and more than 20 million fittings installed. No other company comes close. Right now, for a limited time, you can get 2 free jaws with the purchase of a Klauke 19 kilonewton tool and 5 jaw set. That's 2 bonus jaws, 1/4 inch and 3/4 inch, absolutely free. Hurry up though, this offer ends April 30th, so don't wait. Visit rapidlockingsystem.com/free jaws for complete details and the online redemption form. With RLS, you get reliable mechanical joints in about 10 seconds with no gas or brazing materials, no nitrogen purging, no burn permits, and no fire watch. RLS fittings are compatible with most press tools, including Rigid, Milwaukee, and many others. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, I have Josh Cober on. Josh is another one of our young guns. Josh is 26 years old. He's been in skilled trades for about 7 years now, and he had a pretty good chunk in the restaurant industry, restaurant repair industry. So I look forward to talking to Josh and seeing what all he's been up to. So nice to meet you, Josh. What's going on, buddy?
Nice to meet you, Pat. Glad to be here.
That's cool. Yeah. So let's get into it right away. I mean, you've been doing this 7 years, and you said you did quite a bit of restaurant. Now you try to transition more into industrial and controls. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I've actually been in skilled trades for about 9 years. Started right out of high school working on transport trucks and tractor trailers and stuff like that, and ran into a seasonal shortage of work. And my pops worked for a refrigeration and air conditioning company that did a lot of restaurant hot side, cold side work, and that was where I got started on my apprenticeship and rode it out through there for 4 years. And that was where I first got my toes wet in industrial work, and just kind of fell in love with it, and I've sort of just chased off onto that ever since. So yeah.
Nice, nice. I got some friends that are Canadian, and they always talk about this Red Seal and all these weird licenses. I'm like, there's nothing like that down here. It's a free for all. I'm like,
It's a big thing too.
yeah, and
Like it was a big uproar like 10 years ago or so. It used to be there was like two different licenses you could get depending on your mark on your final exam. You either got that red seal or you didn't, and that was what made you like nationally certified or just provincially certified. And they dropped it in the last 10 years to be make guys able to move more or less. So we have such a shortage.
oh yeah, man, and they take pride in that Red Seal, man. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is so weird. I'm like, it's a wild, wild west down here, man. Like it's local jurisdiction. Some areas you have to. I mean, there's nothing for hot side in my area, anyways. I know some places you have to have a gas test, but it's pretty much just make sure you don't blow stuff up. And I mean, refrigeration. There's some refrigeration stuff. Just depends on where you're at, and it's just wild that I hear Matt Waxer and some of the other guys up there, Jason talking about Red Seal and you got to do this and this. I'm like, what? I was like, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, and like even our gas license, like where I'm at in Ontario, we have a different gas license test and process because it's just more we're like the California, Canada, we're just more stringent than everybody else when it comes to testing. Um, so I apologize to anybody that's from California. I would love to live there. Um, so yeah, everybody else in Canada in terms of gas license, there's two licenses, and then Ontario has three, and they don't transfer for whatever reason. So you have to write a equivalency exam. But other than that, we're the same as everybody else nationally.
That's crazy. So you said you did 4 years in company, and that's where you got your license and everything. You did a lot of restaurant stuff. So what kind of equipment did you work on in restaurants?
Oh, so we did. I know you and I will share a dislike for Henny Penny equipment because I had a real hate on for I. It was a lot of like the Computron 6000 fryers. Like we did a ton of those, some OFG and LOB fryers for Wendy's. A lot of their combis too. We never got into the rationales, but we were doing their combi ovens pretty heavy. And then another manufacturer that I don't know if you guys have it down south or not yet, but GBS that manufactures combi ovens.
Hmm.
So they're actually their North American branch, as far as I know, is run out of a city that's not far away from me in Ontario here, and they distribute all of the like ultra fryers that Popeyes has, and I think they're a Blodgett distributor now too. So yeah, a lot of ultra fryer equipment in Popeyes and stuff like that.
So they're part of that. They're part of the Middleby group then. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
So the GBS ovens are they're straight from Italy. So
Mhm.
if you call tech support, it's kind of a anybody's guess if you're going to get anybody, um, which makes life really interesting. Uh,
Uh, yeah, I mean, most of our combis are all, I mean, if they're not made in Europe or Italy or Germany, they're at least engineered and designed there and then made here. I
yeah,
know I just attended Altosham and, they're made in Wisconsin, not too far from me. But, I think a lot of their stuff's like European inspired. I can't say for sure, but it just seems like, a lot of stuff's metric in there is all I know. But they
yeah,
are
or we
standard.
were having issues with like our Henny Penny, like our wiring diagrams were all still in German. Like we couldn't get English copies for the BCS and GCC ovens. We just couldn't find them. So we were doing Google Translate all the time on wiring diagrams, trying to figure out what components were actually what.
That's brutal. I had to do software on I won't say the name brand, but like everything else on their website was English. When you went to go do this certain software, it was like German, and like I had to download a translator on my phone so I could figure out how to do the software, dude. And I lost my mind. It was a Saturday. I installed the oven on Friday. I don't like doing installs on Friday because they always go south. It seems like every time there's an install on Friday, it never works out. So I don't like doing it. And they're supposed to have the software on there. It didn't have it, so I had to come back the next day because I didn't have a computer with me. And it was just I was so mad. I made a post. I was like, I tagged him. I was like, so and so. I was like, why do you have to download an English, a German to English translator just to put software on your stupid ovens? And tagged
Yeah.
him. And then I got the call like 3 hours later. Hey Pat, you got to take that down.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. So we got a couple questions already. We got Lee Jesse Sinez. He said, with Canada having the restrictions on what websites you can see, does that cause issues if you're trying to look stuff up?
I don't know what websites he's referring to.
I'm,
Um,
I've never heard that before either. So
no, like I pretty much anything like whether we have different supply houses up here, like the only ones that are the same probably are United and Johnstone. And Johnstone doesn't have a big market share in Ontario at least. Um, so like I find a lot of stuff on Partstown. That was where I did most of my ordering from.
nice.
When I was doing kitchen equipment anyways. But yeah, like a lot of stuff comes up on American websites. And it's just a matter of calling whatever wholesalers around with that part number and seeing if it'll cross reference to anything or if it's an exact match or anything like that. But yeah, I've never heard of restrictions on websites for looking stuff up like that. But
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't never heard that before either. So I was kind of surprised. Um, so you said now you're more into industrial side, right?
yeah, so I went I left my food service company. We actually our owners closed up shop. They were just ready to retire and sold the business off. So I left and did about a year and a half working on multi-unit residential, like 1.3 million BTU boilers and centrifugal chiller plants and stuff like that. Um, didn't love the hours and didn't love spending anywhere from 3 to 5 hours traveling to a service call. So left that, and then now, yeah, I work in a lot of light commercial, heavy commercial, and into industrial. And then the company I work for, we're not technically a carrier dealer, but we're heavily affiliated with carriers, so we deal a lot with their IV, VVT controls, stuff like that. So we're slowly getting more and more into building automation sides of things.
Nice. That's pretty cool. I've got a friend of mine that we are actually I was an electrician before I started doing this, and I worked with him, and we were doing residential. We were union, and I left there and just the market tanked. And before I started doing this, and I ran into him not too long ago, and he actually does controls now for HVAC. He doesn't even do. He just runs controls and programs controls and sets controls up. He does gravy work. I was like, oh, maybe that's something.
Oh, it's awesome. You spend a week just yanking wires around and a couple days landing them, a couple days programming. It's yeah, carry around like four screwdrivers when I'm on controls jobs, and that's about it.
Nice, nice. You do any supermarket stuff or just no?
I would love to. I toured through when I was doing food service. We had some contracts with a couple of grocery stores up here that were multi chains, like 60 plus stores. So we
Nice.
were doing all their hot side stuff, and I went through a few of their rack rooms, and like I'd love to learn more about it, but I don't want their on call. So
Yeah,
I
that's only on call I think worse than the food service is the
yeah,
rat.
yeah, if I could get some kind of a gravy gig of just doing like new startup commissioning and stuff like that and PID tuning for racks and things like that, yeah, I'd get into it, but it's uh it's not a lifestyle that I want to go chase. So
Our one of our co-hosts here, Dusty, he recently went to a rat company. He says he's loving it, but we'll see what happens in July and August when it's 95 degrees outside and there's stuff dying everywhere. We'll see how much he
yeah,
loves when
throwing
he's.
sprinklers under coils outside and running away to the next one and
Yeah, I'm not sure. It always intrigues me. I'm friends with Brett, and I've talked to him about some stuff and I watch his stuff and I'm like, man, this is super cool. But I'm like,
I
I don't want to start over.
no, I've listened to those guys since pretty close to day one of their podcast. I have a self-admitted big man crush on Brett. He's
He's a
his
great.
pay to train his pay to train program was what got me into wanting to do more training stuff with our apprentices.
Yeah, he's set up a pretty cool system, and I think it's going to work out pretty well. I've known
Mhm.
Brett for a few years now, and he's been a tremendous help and tremendous friend for me. And I'm excited to see what this pay to train program they got going on does. I think it's gonna be pretty cool, pretty successful. Um, but I imagine a lot of other companies are going to model after it takes off and they see, what they're turning out. So
Yeah. Well, especially for supermarket stuff that's just that specialized, you have to do something for internal training, I would think.
yeah, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure how it starts out or how they work through. I doubt they go straight to supermarket, but I imagine I don't know because they're pretty well structured in like levels of technicians and what they work on. They got a pretty good. They've got it down pretty well. So like level one, level two. I think level two is like light commercial, and it's split up in like two different level two things. I'm not sure how it works. I'm just talking about my butt now, but I'm sure Brett will correct me if he sees this. But yeah, it's a pretty cool program he's got, and I was excited to have him on talk about it. And I know he's proud of it. He's put a lot of time, work, and effort into it, and uh, it'll be successful knowing Brett. So what else we got going on? So yeah, you said the on-call schedule in restaurants. So I mean, you don't have to tell me nothing, but it can be pretty rough, man. They're demanding. They have a. It's not like a rack where you have thousands of dollars of tens or $100,000 of food in a cooler, but I mean they do have a lot of food, but they're when they want it fixed, they want it fixed now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they got a bank of four fryers and one fryer's down, you just increase their time by 25, 30%, and time is money to those places, and you get customers waiting. That means you have pissed off customers. That means you don't have as many customers coming through the door. It's just a big giant chain.
Yeah, we had that similar argument when I first started getting into process manufacturing stuff with me and another guy, and he was honked the one night. They called us out at about 10 o'clock because one of their chillers had gone down on the line and got all mad when he hops out of his truck and he goes, I'm not sure why they called us in. It could have waited till tomorrow. And walked in and the plant manager goes, this is costing us $20,000 an hour for this line being down. It's got to get running right now. It's like, yeah, that's why they called us in. Gotta get
Yeah,
after it, bud.
yeah. People don't get it. I mean, if they can wait, most people will wait. But when it starts costing them thousands of dollars an hour, they don't. They get pretty impatient pretty fast.
Yeah. I'm sympathetic to all of it unless I'm out on a Saturday and I hear, yeah, I quit working on Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. We thought it'd get better, but it's still down. It's like, yeah, don't ever tell me that, please.
Or yeah, you get there and like, oh, it just went down, and like there's so much ice. It's like it's not even frost anymore. It's solid ice, and it's like starting to
All
turn.
the Yeah, all the
Dude,
buns in the walk-in have thawed out, and
like this hasn't rained in like 3 or 4 days. I'm like, you just
yeah,
had it in here and it just stayed. Oh no, we just noticed it today, and then there's no temperature log or anything. I'm like, you guys are such liars.
oh yeah, yeah, no,
That is my least favorite line. Oh, it just went down today. No, it didn't. It never just went down today.
no. You know as soon as you hear it exactly what's gonna happen, and it's never good.
What's up, Adrian? Adrian's in the chat. So yeah, it's a pretty cool career. I love working at restaurants just because it's always something different. It's always someplace different. We do a mix of food, casual dining, and then schools, hospitals, and nursing homes. Did you mainly just do like restaurants, or did you do school stuff?
Yeah, it was mainly a mix of like restaurants and then heavy industrial. So we were bouncing. It was a cool mix because you never really know what you're gonna see. So you bounce between big direct fire makeup airs on a plant roof to looking at somebody's frozen beverage machine on their counter to whatever else, a big chiller out in the parking lot. And
You can
so
keep those FBDs. I don't want nothing to do with those things, dude.
they're such a. I'm not a big fan of them, but they're such a great spot to learn so much stuff from the refrigeration cycle, at least with the like those tailors, the 428s and 429s with your EPR and your two different barrel temps, and it's a great way to learn different stuff. But yeah, they're bricks to work on.
It's a lot of stuff crammed in a little bitty spot is what I don't
Yeah,
like. I got big hands, man, and I've only done a few. Well, they were margarita machines. I forget the name brand, but they were at Cheeseburger in Paradise. We used to have some of those around here, and they just get gummed up, man. They slinging that margarita mix around, and it gets down inside there. And those worked off of a rotating motor, where the motor rotated and hit a switch. That's what kicked the refrigeration circuit out.
yeah.
And when that motor would flip back down, it kicked the refrigeration circuit back on, and it gets so gummed up that motor wouldn't turn anymore in those bearings. And pull it apart, put new bearings in there, adjust the switch, and good to go. But it's just like you pull a side off, and there's just margarita mix everywhere. And occasionally it changes seal, but most of the time it's just from just sloshing it around. And just, every time I
Uh,
see on me the next day, I was like, why am I doing this? Can't
yeah.
anyone else do this?
We had we had a Circle K contract for probably close to 50 stores, and it was the same. Their slush machines were a nightmare. I just avoid them like the plague now. Because yeah, we'd have even like the flex couplers on the back. You'd have to heat them with your oxyacetylene and then beat them off still with a puller and a pry bar, and it gets to a point where you're just cutting them because you can't take them apart nice anymore, and it's a mess.
We got to the point where like once a year they were on remote. They had those stupid like dry lock couplings, I want to call them, for like refrigeration lines. They were
Yeah,
remote against, and we'd pop those off and like literally take them outside, pull the motor out and all the electrics out, and just take a hot water hose and just like melt all the sugar and booze out of them, and then put them back together and stick them back in there.
we had for a some guy left it in his van in the winter with water in it, and it froze and broke it. But we had a steam clean machine. And for the self-contains, that was the best thing ever for cleaning those condenser coils because it just like melts right out of the coil on the counter.
Nice.
But yeah,
I've played around with one of those. I was using it on a combi oven. They cooked a lot of chicken at this place, and they didn't use the recipes, and the grease wouldn't get pumped out, and it just collected in the bottom. So I was taking a steam cleaner, had a little flexible wand, and I just shove it down the drain and just like turn it on, just melt it out, and try to pump it out as fast as I could. It worked, but I can imagine, thawing out coils and cleaning coils. That'd probably be a pretty sweet investment.
yeah, yeah.
I never.
They're handy. You just if you live somewhere cold, you can't keep it anywhere near freezing in the wintertime.
Yeah, I could see that. And, I mean, I've heard people use them for like melting coils. I never thought about cleaning them. I guess in a greasy kitchen is just grease anyways and dirt. If you can melt that grease off, you're gonna take it all off anyways. So
Yeah,
uh, That'd be something to check out. I think the Subco makes one or someone makes one. I'll have to look into it and see now.
Oh yeah, ours was a Shark one for like it was for steam cleaning clothes. I think it
Re-
was on sale and somebody saw it and just thought, hey, that'd work and just picked one up.
I rented an industrial one for like doing industrial drapes and stuff. Is what I used, but I can a little shark one. Um, that's maybe something to check out. So, what did you like best about, if you liked anything about the restaurant side versus anything else?
I was thinking about this today actually when I was driving around to work. Um, I like now looking back on it, I think it makes really well-rounded mechanics. I think that's probably the part that I like the most, just because you have to be so competent with your electrical skills, especially. Um, yeah, oddly enough, I love doing like hot holding cases in grocery stores, just
Mhm.
because I finally had enough room to work. I could just rip all the shelves out and like crawl and lay inside the thing. Um, Yeah, I love doing that stuff. The ultra fryers were real nice too because they're just so serviceable. Like 4 bolts and the entire front burner section falls out on your lap. And
Yeah, those are pretty different to work on. You get the blower in the back, so it's like
yeah,
uh, induction motor versus a premix or whatever. So
yeah,
I kind of at the back, and we got a little bit with some Popeyes. And I think Freddy's frozen custard has them around here, so occasionally we get a little bit of them, but they're pretty cool. I've changed a couple of fry pots on them, and that was not fun, just because I never done it. I mean, I'm a firm believer these guys that complain about certain brands is because they don't work on that brand, so they think it's junk. And I get in fights all the time online. I shouldn't do it, but people are like, "Oh, this is junk." I'm like, "Do you ever work on it?" "Well, no, but it's junk, so I don't want to work on it." I'm like, "Well, you never work on it, so you don't know. You don't have any right to say whether it's junk or not." I was like, "You don't."
yeah.
I was like, "When I complain about Henny Penny, it's because I don't work on Henny Penny." I mean, if I worked on Henny Penny every day, it'd be a different story.
I worked on them every day. I still think they're a piece of shit, but that's just me personally.
I just don't get that stupid valve, that selector valve.
No, and you know what? I've had so many issues too with them falling out of position. And you have to pull the rod out and set the 0 point again and put the rod back in. And um, yeah, I'm not sold on them personally, but
Rich and Jason love them, man. They absolutely love them. I'm just like, "Yeah, okay, it is what it is." I mean, I'm not knocking them. I don't know 'em, so it is what it is at that point.
yeah.
So what would be your least favorite thing about working in kitchens? I know you said the on-call schedule, the on-call. Is there anything else in particular that you didn't care for?
Toward the end of my kitchen work, anyways, we were getting into doing like bulk grease disposal stuff, like
Install
pump
'em?
out trolleys. No, servicing them.
Oh, boy.
So I would have loved to install them because they don't stink. No, servicing them with like the pump out trolleys and changing out those pump motors and getting carts that have been left to set for a week with no heater plugged in and just yeah, funny enough seeing that in the chat, I did have a rat fall out of a fryer one time at a Popeyes. Um, that was a little gnarly too. That wasn't a good time.
I've seen roaches, but I've never seen a rat. That's bad.
I was looking and it was like the spark cable for it looked like it had been chewed through by something. And my flashlight, when I swung it, I just saw something glint. I was like, well, this is really weird. And I just balled my fist up. I smacked the side of the fryer. This rat just fell out onto the floor and took off running. It's like,
Oh,
yep,
that's crazy. No.
I'm never going to eat here again.
Oh, that's wild. So what made you get into trades?
My dad is an electrician by trade. Doesn't really do electrical work anymore, but like just working around the house with him when I was a kid on the weekends, and we'd have stuff to do or didn't have stuff to do for me at least. And he was on call and got service calls. I went out in the truck with him and I was holding stuff for him and getting stuff out of the truck for him. And I thought HVAC was the most boring thing when I was doing it with him when I was 10, 12 years old. And then I ran out of work to do when I was 18, and I said, "Hey, do you guys got any openings?" And he goes, "Yeah, we sure do." And so I started it and said, "Well, this isn't so bad," and just kind of fell in love with it from there. So now I'm here. I don't never see being able to work behind a desk full time.
Mhm.
Love being out and traveling between job sites and just getting to meet different people, see different stuff, work on different pieces of equipment. And so there's, especially on the food service side, there's not really anything that's more diverse than that, just in terms of manufacturers or equipment installs or layouts. Like it's always something different. So I'm
Yeah,
looking forward.
that's my favorite part about the kitchens is, like, you never know what you're gonna run into. Like, do you ever do any dish machine stuff or
I've looked at a couple, and usually by the time we had priced out a motor and an impeller, they just opted to get it replaced, and that was not our forte, so we never did it. But no, I never got into whole parts or anything like that either, so I've never looked at them personally.
I love dish machines. I don't know what it is about them. I think it's because I don't work on them hardly, but, like, I get a dish machine call, I'm like, "Oh, I wanna run that. I wanna see what I can do." Just the variety, like you said, you never know what you're gonna work on. Even if you're working on the same piece of equipment, it's a different problem most of the time. Occasionally, you'll get in some periods where it's like the same thing over and over and over again, as far as like you run into a bad batch of something. But for the most part, it's always different. It's always a new challenge, and it's pretty rewarding. So
Yeah, that's what a lot of our young guys now are really wanting to. So we service a lot of Burger Kings that are in our local area. So we deal with all their refrigeration now as well as their HVAC, and so a lot of those guys are wanting to get into the reefer side of things and the ice machines especially. And so I've run some service calls with them before. And I'm like, it's always a different issue, but the solution is almost always still just clean the machines.
yeah,
But
Burger King ice machines, a ton of Hoshizakis, and they're always dirty. That's what
yeah,
I worked for a company years ago, probably 14 years ago. And somehow we got hooked up with Burger King, and it was always like Friday night, Hoshizaki's full lunch deal. Every Friday night, dude. You could just it's like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. Wonder who's gonna call Burger King ice machine. I'm like, this is like clockwork, man. I mean, once you get
and
used to 'em, you can just like rip them apart. I'm like, I don't even run chemical through them first time. Most of the time I just pull them apart because you know it's just gonna be chunks of lime scale in the tube.
distributor tubes, yeah.
Yeah.
See, and
It,
we've gotten all our stores on the quarterly PMs now, and we do full ice machine teardowns and cleanings on the quarterly. So we very rarely, if ever, see breakdowns on after hours for our ice machines at least.
dude, ours refuse.
Thankfully.
Refuse. I don't get it, man. You can preach PMs till you're blue in the face. No one ever does them though. I mean, it's rare,
No,
especially if you
but
get a Burger King to do quarterly PMs. That's pretty good.
they're private equity owned, so
Oh,
money
that makes sense.
money becomes no object all of a sudden, and it's just sure, what do you want to do to avoid breakdowns? Let's do it.
So I know you're showing interest in training and teaching in the future, correct?
Yep.
So I mean, you're only 26 years old, and you're already talking about, hey, I want to start training and stuff like that. We had Toby Overton on. He's the same way. He's a young guy. He's been in the trades, since he could, and he's the same way. He wants to train future people, and that's a goal of mine too, eventually. Um, and I think it's really cool that you want to, share your knowledge of, HVAC, refrigeration, kitchen equipment, and pass it on to other people. A lot of younger guys, they just want to make money or whatever, but it's cool to see that you have that passion and you want to share that knowledge. So that's cool.
Yeah. For one, I just don't want to work so hard. So I would love for my apprentices to just magically start just reading my mind and doing whatever I tell them to do, and or without me even telling them. But no, I think it's worthwhile to make investments in people. I had some fantastic employers and managers along my career, and they always made time to answer questions and help me out and do training with me. And so I just feel like that needs to get paid forward. And it's a hard thing to get young guys in the trade for starters a lot of the time now, it seems. And so it makes it even worse than when they get paired with a guy who's just grumpy and curmudgeony and doesn't want to tell them anything all day long and just yells at them. So why not spend the time to invest in somebody new and get them involved, get them interested, get them excited, right?
Yeah, it's always fun to get a young guy or new guy in. They don't quite get it, and you finally figure out their learning style. You finally figure out how they're going to understand it, and you explain it to them and like you watch and they get it and you're like, okay, this guy's gonna make it. I mean, it's a cool feeling.
Yeah,
Most of the time we're watching these guys and we get that in the back of our mind, he's not gonna make it, it's not gonna work out. And eventually when they do get it and prove you wrong, you're like, yes, this is awesome.
yeah, yeah. It's ever since now too, with like changing companies, I had, well, not just me personally, but we had 4 or 5 apprentices at my last shop that I worked with really closely to do training on, and they've moved out of the helper labor phase and they're in their own trucks running their own service calls, and we meet up at supply houses or drive past each other on the road. It's just this inspiring feeling of like, yeah, these guys figured it out. They got it. And
Yeah,
maybe I was a little part of that, and that's all that I really need to see is just that I helped somebody along the way.
I think mine stems from like when I first started, I got like 2 weeks training, and I had some people I could call and I could help. That would help me, and then when I wanted to do refrigeration, it was the same thing. I got told parts on the truck, figure it out. you know, and I luckily had some people to lean on. So I want to be able to. I don't want people to feel like I did because I felt lost and like I wasn't gonna get this. I was screwed, and I don't want no one ever to feel that way. So I always tell everybody, hey, you can call me. Dude, I give tech support for everybody across my company, other companies. Heck, that's how me and Jason started, talking. Was he was calling me, asking me questions. He was messaging me, asking me questions about a Garland grill, and we just became friends ever since then. So um, I just want to share that knowledge. I mean, I don't want to work 60 plus hours every week. Um, I like being in high demand because when you're in high demand, you make good money. So, I mean, there's a handoff, but I don't want to have to be gone all the time. I'd like the money I make, but if I could stay around 50, 55 hours, I'd be happy. I'd be content. But, you get those weeks, you're 65, 75 hours, you're into overtime on Wednesday. It's just like, there's got to be a better way.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like it's such a, like I said, like, yeah, it's so hard to find. We have such a hard time finding guys, period. And then
Dude,
we get dudes getting yelled at and getting screamed at for getting the wrong screwdriver or not putting the drill from forwards into reverse or whatever. And it's like, well, did you spend 5 minutes going over the stuff with the kid, or did you just get mad at him because he didn't come out of the womb with a screwdriver and a multimeter in his hands?
these old guys can be terrible, man. Like, just because they learned on stuff that has like 6 components, it's for kitchens. Like, back in the day, they used to drive, a pickup truck of a tub of parts and could fix everything, and now I'm like, "Dude, I've got an oven with like 5, 6 boards in it, a touch screen, and 2 miles of wiring." I'm like, "It's not 20, 30 years ago when you first started and you could fix anything with a pocket screwdriver and a pair of channel locks."
No, and I mean even our rooftops now. Like we just got back in February, we had a new Linux unit get delivered to us. It's got one of the new core controllers in it.
Mhm.
You can't set that thing up without a phone. Like it
Yeah.
has to Bluetooth pair to a device to do setup on it and all that. And so like anybody that works for our shop that's over about 35 is just doesn't care about it. Doesn't want to learn it. It's like,
Yeah,
well, okay.
I've got guys that can't do software. They can't they cannot wrap their minds around downloading software to a USB stick and setting it up right. It's like it's on there. I'm like, well, did you unzip it? What does that mean? I'm like, well, it said the instructions to unzip it. And like these manufacturers, like their instructions are detailed. They like there's pictures that tell you what to do, and these guys still screw this up. I'm like, how? How do you do this?
I yeah, for all my henny penny hate, they make some fantastic manuals with color coded pictures and the whole 9 yards for every step, and it is extremely idiot proof. But yeah, no, well, and at some point, like where I work now, we have it's an older workforce. Most of our guys are in their 50s, and our 3 apprentices and myself in our service department at least are all under 30. So it's kind of we're starting that changeover,
Mhm.
but everybody's relatively like within 2 3 years into the trade, and so they're all relatively new in comparison. So it's kind of the we're down to the nut cutting time for getting guys trained and getting them to know the stuff, because we're going to start having guys retire, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
so hard to bring people over from another company that are already trained up and know what they're doing, right? So we have to start making the investment in guys.
yeah. We're the same way, man. Like we anybody that applies says they have experience, their experience is really not what it is. Like guys are lying on their resumes, and then you're not getting anybody that you can trust to turn loose after teaching them, your software or whatever. I mean, you know, 5, 10 years ago, you could get guys that were knew what was going on. You bring them in, you give them a couple days on your software, and you're turning them loose, making money running calls. And
Yeah.
those days are gone, dude. Like the guys that are worth anything are getting taken care of really well right now. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been pushing like we need to get in front of the younger people. And I'm not opposed to anybody. If you want to learn this trade at 50 years old, 55 years old, hey, come on, I will show you what's up. If you're willing to listen and learn, I don't care if you're 18 or if you're 55 or 60, come on with it because I will put you to work and I will teach you what's up. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pushing like stop trying to offer these big giant, I think we got branches that are offering like $6,000, $7,000 sign on bonuses for experienced techs, and we still can't get people. That's insane, dude. That is
Yeah.
insane. I'm like,
It's yeah. I go. I've gone this year and last year. I went a couple times to talk at my old high school about getting into skilled trades and stuff because I'm sure the states is similar. Like there's a big heavy push in secondary schools for funneling kids off to post secondary, whether that's college or university or whatever. And now all of a sudden we have skilled trade shortage. So I'm a relatively recent graduate, so I go in and talk about it, and I tell all the kids that I come across, and like I can teach you how to do my job within a couple weeks. Like the job's not the hard part; it's the attitude and the work ethic and
yeah.
showing up on time with your phone still in your pocket. Like that's the stuff that I can't teach you. You just got to do it yourself.
And I always talk about my son because he's 21 years old. He's been here almost 2 years, and like I took him to a career day, and like there was kids that he went to school with that knew him, and it was kind of cool seeing him interact with those kids, again, and it was pretty cool. But I think high school career days are going to be huge for all skill trades, not just our industries, but plumbers, electricians, everybody. Get out there and get in front of the next generation. You never know. Like I was having a blast. I brought my RLS press tool into school, and the kids would walk by, they weren't paying attention. I start playing with that, and it was making a weird noise, and they're like, "What's that?" And getting attention and stuff, and it was just I at first, I was like, "Oh, these kids are annoying," and I was like, "Man, they're just kids," and I started having
Yeah,
fun. It was a lot different. So um,
yeah,
I'll tell you, I am 40. I'll be 42 next week, and high school is a lot different than 24 years. I'm like, I look at my son. I'm like, man, I'm glad you turned out the way you did. It's a wild time, man.
yeah. Well, I mean, shoot. So I'm 27 in a couple weeks, so I graduated 9 years ago now. And it was like my 11th grade year, so my junior year. I had guidance counselors calling my mom, just freaking out because they brought me in and said, "Well, what schools do you want to go to after high school?" And I just looked at them and I laughed and I said, "None." So I want to go be a mechanic.
Yep.
And they called my mom all worried, going, "Well, he's got really good marks. Like he doesn't want to go to university."
That's
And
the way they are with my youngest son, man. He's like, he's above in America, like the perfect like if you're a straight A student, you're like a 4.0 grade average. He's like a 4.2 or something. Like he's like one of the top like five in his class, and they're like, "Oh, we want him to join National Honor Society," and he's like, "No, I'm not doing that." And they're like, "Well, where do you want to go to school at?" He's like, "I'm not going to college." And they're just like mind blown. They're like, "But like you're smart." He's like, "Yeah, I don't want to go to college. Just because I'm smart doesn't mean I have to go to college." He's like, he
yeah,
wa- he wants to get a trade. He wants to, he's thinking about doing what I do or being a plumber, and I'm all for it, man. And it's the trades are making a huge comeback right now, and it's only going to keep going, I think.
yeah. I mean, I turned out and I got my license at I got it just before I turned 26, so that was my big goal. I wanted to be red sealed by 25 still, and I got bumped at that point in time to $50 an hour was what we were paying journeyman at,
Nice.
and it was I went out with some buddies who all went to college and university and stuff like that, and they're all going, well, like you don't have any student debt. It's like, no, man. I went to college 3 times for 8 weeks at a time, and it cost me $400 each time, and I went on unemployment each time. So I made money through my education. Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's I always see people a lot. I follow a lot of Canadian people on social media, and they're always talking about they're going to school for like 8 weeks or something, and they're in their second year, third year. I'm like, how do they do that? So I didn't realize you could file unemployment while you did that and stuff too. So that's pretty cool.
They give you like a dedicated access code for employment insurance in Canada at least.
Mhm.
So yeah, you have like a code that lasts for the same amount of time as your school term is. And then yeah, you can take 8 weeks off at a time, or you can do what's called day release, where they make you take it's 1 day off a week for I think 6 months or 7 months. And it's essentially the same as doing that 8 week chunk. But I'm not that good at retaining things from week to week, so I
You're
just
like,
want
get it over with.
yeah, rip the band-aid off real quick and let's just do it.
That's cool. I was curious how they did it. So it makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, yeah, it's usually based on hours, like hours spent in trades. So your employer technically is supposed to log that. And then once you hit a certain mark is when they'll offer you for first term, and then same with second and third. And
So
the
the
goal is that, sorry,
oh, go ahead.
the goal is that by the time you're done your third term of your trade school is when you basically book your license exam right after you're done school, and you just go in and write as soon as you're done, more or less.
Now, is does your employer set that up, or do you guys set that up, or how's that work?
There's a government agency that handles all of the schooling and everything like that. Same with the licensing stuff. That all goes through just one government agency, and they'll once there's enough individuals in your area that are going to the same school that have all the requirements, they send out an email, and it's the first 20 or 25 to reply back with $400 to pay your tuition. Those are the first guys that are going.
Nice, nice. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool setup. I didn't realize how it worked. That's pretty cool. I know around here. So, is the union big up there or not?
Yeah, there's a few. Like they're more in Toronto, which is about an hour or so away from me.
Yeah,
They're a lot bigger. That's our biggest city in Canada too, so it kind of fits.
I wasn't
Um,
sure. Unions
yeah,
everywhere here, but it's like hit or miss. Like you can be a union, you don't have to be in a union. I'm non-union. I was a union electrician. I'm non-union now. Um, it's kind of weird because my industry doesn't really fit its own little thing. So like most of the guys go like the pipe fitters union and
yeah,
go that route, and it's just like, that's not for me. So I was just curious how that worked.
yeah. No, I'm so our like we have a few union companies around us. I'm not a big union guy personally. I feel like if I'm really good at my job, I should get paid more. And if I really suck at my job, you should pay somebody that's really good at it more.
Yeah, that's the thing that kind of scared me with the union was like me and this guy are making the same amount of money, but he can't do what I do, and I do twice as much as him. But yet,
Yeah,
all based on a title, and we both make the same amount of money, and that would
well,
drive me
yeah,
nuts.
your time in and like I want to get paid for my experience, not how long I hung around the company, right? Like,
Merit based versus
yeah,
title.
yeah.
So that,
I'm not a company guy. I told like I just switched jobs probably or switched employers, I should say, about 8 months ago, and I said that right in my interview. I said like I'm not gonna be your company dude. I'm a big company culture guy, but I'm not a company guy. And
yeah,
I bring my attitude with me, and it may not always gel, but like it gets results most of the time, so we roll with it.
nice, nice, yeah. So you said you're in Ontario, correct?
Yeah,
Cool. I'll have to see who else is up there. I mentioned something earlier about the RLS press. Have you ever used that or anything, or seen anything about that?
I've seen a lot of stuff about it. I have set a few fire alarms off in my day in apartment buildings, and it would have been fantastic in that application. Um, but yeah, I've never had the joys of using it.
I'll find out who's in your area and see if you can't, get a sample and see what's going on.
Yeah,
Because I mean, they're a sponsor of today's episode. I mean, they're a pretty cool company. I just actually came back from their facility last week. They had a big open house. They built this little training facility. It's a showroom training facility. Shows off all their fittings and then all their tooling. And then they also just built this. It's a big giant box truck. Like the side opens up. It's got like a floor that comes out, and it's just like a big mobile training studio. It's pretty cool. It's got a burst chamber in there so you can blow stuff up. So that's making its way across the country. So, and I think these are going to come into Canada too. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. And
Yeah,
I'll be sharing all their stops and stuff about that. So,
yeah,
but so if you want fast, reliable HVACR joints, choose RLS press fittings. With RLS, you get the most trusted, most proven press fittings on the market. And the only ones with more than 9 years of field use in HVACR and more than 20 million fittings installed. No other company comes close. Right now, for a limited time, you can get 2 free jaws with the purchase of a Klauke 19 kilonewton tool and 5 jaw set. That's 2 bonus jaws. That is a 1/4 inch and a 3/4 inch jaw, absolutely free. Offer ends April 30th, so don't delay. Visit rapidlockingsystem.com/free jaws for complete details in the online redemption form. With RLS, you get reliable mechanical joints in about 10 seconds with no gas or brazing materials. No nitrogen purging, no burn permits, no fire watch. RLS fittings are compatible with most press tools, including Rigid, Milwaukee, and many others. So I appreciate RLS for supporting the show and for sharing the knowledge and you know so it's pretty cool. So I will find out who's in Ontario and I will get you set up and see if I can't at least get you a demo and check it out.
yeah.
Um, it's pretty cool. It's kind of people always like dog me for using it, but I work in a lot of places where I have burn permits, man, and uh, I'm not trying to get a burn permit if I don't have to because some of them are getting pretty crazy. I've got one place that's 8 hours after you put the torch out, and it can't be the guy with the torch. So you're paying someone to stand there their entire time, and then 8 hours once the torch is out. Like how I'm like, you tell a manufacturer that like, well, we ain't paying that. You tell the customer, well, we ain't paying that. You got to do the work, so you don't have to do it. So I've got it pretty well figured out. I will either on filter dryers, I will press in flare adapters, and I'll just use a flare dryer so you can change
Yeah.
it if you. And then on compressors or any other components, I will actually braze in stubs and I will cap them off. And when I get to site, I just cut the old one out and match the line sets up and just press them in, and it works
Okay.
for me. So it's a
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just
No, I've just started doing some lever stuff in server rooms, and we haven't really come across it yet because their compressors, thankfully, are all rotor locked on suction and discharge. But yeah, no, I've been told horror stories about pulling hot works with them.
yeah, dude. I've got some historic buildings, and it's like you have to go downtown. You wait. It's like 2 hours to get it, and then when you're done, you go back down there. It's like another 2 hours. I'm like, no, I'm not dealing with this, man. Anything that I can do to avoid it. So
Yeah, we used to pull them for doing industrial work a lot on process chillers, and by the time usually that health and safety and their plant managers had showed up with the book, we were already brought the torch out, lit it up, welded in whatever we were doing, and then shut the torch down, and we just signed off the start and stop time at the same time, and that was that. So
I didn't know a thing about burn permits until like probably 10, 11 years ago. We were installing some combi ovens, and I was new to refrigeration at the time, so I didn't know. We were installing combi ovens had 2-inch drains, and we were doing it at night, and GC was never there. Well, he showed up this night because it was like the last night, and he was like, "Oh, I thought you guys fabbed all these drains off site." I'm like, no, I did the manifold off site, and I built the rest of them here on site. He's like, "Oh, you got a burn permit?" And I was like, "What's a burn permit?" And I lit my torch, and started soldering. Then he went and grabbed a fire extinguisher, and was going to spray me with it. He was like, "You put it out right now," and I was like, "What? Why? You don't have a burn?" I was like, "I don't know what that is. How do I get that?" And like ever since then, I just like, man, I'm done with burn permits.
no, it was the same deal when I got asked about it. We were sweating in a compressor and a filter dryer in a factory on Saturday, and their health and safety rep came by and saw a fireball coming out of the old compressor from the oil lighting up, and she goes, "Do you got a permit for that?" Like, well, no. She goes, "Well, you wait here. I'll go get my book." It's like, all right. And I looked at the guy I was with, and I said, "We better do this quick because I don't really want to fill this paperwork out." And yeah, 10 minutes later, everything was done. But yeah, no, I don't do a whole lot with them anymore. But yeah, I would even for just doing ductlesses, I'd love to get my hands on them and start ramming them in.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're about out of time here. A couple more things. So if you were to talk to anybody, say maybe a high school junior or senior, and they were going to ask about the trades, what would be some piece of advice you'd tell them? Whether it be, hey, check out multiple different ones, or get into it, or what? What would you tell a 16 or 17-year-old person that was interested in trades?
just just try something. Like even if you don't like it, especially on construction stuff, like commercial construction is. I mean, it can be tough to find a job just doing anything other than a day laborer, but you're around everybody, right? Whether it's plumbers or electricians or HVAC guys or drywallers or roofers, even if you want to be a roofer, like just just get into it and try it. And you're still making money either way while you're trying and you're learning, right? So you may as well just get some experience. It's all applicable knowledge. So
Yeah, I like that because people go to college, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to college, and it's a job they ended up hating because they didn't know they thought it looked cool on paper or they seen
yeah,
someone do it cool, but by the time they get to where they do it, they can't stand it, they hate it, and they're terrible at it. The trades are pretty cool because a lot of times you can be a helper or, like you said, be a laborer, and you can watch other trades and you can ask them questions, and maybe learn a little bit about it beforehand. And
yeah,
I like the try before you buy thing, especially the way you guys do it's pretty cool because you can go to work and then you get signed up and go to school afterwards. You're working there for a while.
yeah,
I'm a firm believer in that. I think it's pretty cool.
yeah. I just think like experience is key, whatever it is. Like just try something because you never know until you just try it, right?
Yeah,
So
that's for sure. I don't think there's anything else. If you want people to follow you on social media, you can go ahead and give out any of your social media handles if you want. I'm not sure if
um
or
yeah,
not.
but the only one is Instagram. And I don't post on it super frequently. Um, but it is at Josh CBR8. Um, yeah, that's about the only one that's around. I'm trying to be more active on it, but it can be tough to find the time. So
Dude, you're telling me, man. Some days I love it. Some days I absolutely hate it. Uh, I used to love social media, and I still love it, but like now it's like a second job, and it's cool because what I'm doing, but it's just like, man, it's a lot of work.
yeah,
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, spending time with me tonight on this episode. It was good to get to talk to you, and I look forward to hearing from you soon, man. So have a good night.
yeah, you too, Pat.
Thanks. If you guys would, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It really helps us grow and helps us know which direction to move in. Also, if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a guest, email me. Love to have you guys on. Thanks a lot. See you next week.